Just waiting on the things to line up with the YouTubes. Let's see here. There we go. Looks like we've got an active live feed, which is frankly always good. And now we're just waiting on CouchBot to fire, so the community is aware of the live stream. Always good to be back. Always got my vaccine. Got my sticker. I always put weird stickers on the back of my phone. You can't really. Yeah, there you go. Got my vaccine shot. Also got these cool stickers. I don't know if you're wanting a sticker. If you're wanting a sticker, put it in the comment. In the if you're wanting a new Pragmatic sticker, put that in the comments on the video, and I'll be sure to get one out to you. I'll ping you or something for your address. I used to. It's funny. I had all the swag for events, like buttons and stickers and all this stuff, and then the pandemic hit, and it was like, oh, well, we're not going anywhere anymore. So I've got a box of stuff off in the corner because I was supposed to be at Ohio and at Michigan State and a number of other places, Washington D.C., and then those things just didn't happen. I'm pretty excited, actually. Like, now that I've gotten my vaccine, and I will say this, and this is completely off the cuff here. I was tired. I was really tired yesterday. I feel like a different person today, not because it makes you into a super person or anything, but I think it takes about a day for you to like work through whatever that vaccine does. It like will drain you for about a day, or at least that's the effect I had. I've heard that from other people. But we'll see. We'll see. Hopefully that it works and we all get back to normal. I will say that the operations over here in Chicago were at the United Center were pretty straightforward, to be honest with you. Not a lot of confusion. I had to show my QR code about 50 times. That's the only real thing only real hiccup is they didn't tell you that you needed to keep your QR code out, and of course, if it's on your phone and the phone goes dim, and then you show it again and it's not there, and you have to bring it back up. So, regardless, minor thing. Vaccinating an entire planet is a pretty large operation, and one small city in one small country. It's a drop in the bucket. So my appreciation to everybody who's been involved in that logistical hurdle, and my appreciation to you for joining along today. We've got a few students, so I'm going to go ahead and get this underway. CouchBot fired during the middle of all that, so let's get it started. Greetings, one and all. Chris Courtney here, New Pragmatic. It's time for the feedback loop. So good to have you along for this edition of the show. We've got Luigi, Heather, and Bryn all have submitted work, which is great. Yesterday was kind of an off day for me, as I got the COVID-19 vaccine and was kind of working through that. But it's always good to have students submitting work. If you are new here and you're watching this for the first time, if you get any value out of this video, please click that subscribe button, hit the bell notification. It'll tell you every time that we are live. Also, it's funny, I was just pointing out, I've got my little vaccine sticker here. These new Pragmatic stickers, I've got those available. If you'd like me to ship you one of those, feel free to hit me with a comment below. I'll get one right out to you. All right, without further ado, let's get this started. All right, today we're going to start with Luigi, mainly because it's the first tab that I have open. And Luigi's been busy working on his Fresh Market case study here in Squarespace. And as I've mentioned a number of times over with Luigi, like Squarespace has some just weird spacing issues. Like like if I was really going through, I would want to, I'm just going to come through and inspect the element, and you can kind of see right away, like this stuff is just, the spacing is just not great, and you essentially have to go through and find where in these blocks, like these blocks identify what you can target and edit. So if you're watching this at home and you're like, how does one edit a square space? Well, you target the block and then you target the elements in the block. So I would be targeting this block and I would be targeting that H2. Or if I decided I just wanted all of that bottom margin gone from the H2s overall, I would do that instead. But here I've got a margin of 2 rem. If I change that to 1 and then go ahead and change the others, that pretty much soaks up, all of that space is gone now, and then I can go back to my P class and I can do the same here. So it's 1 rem. I don't necessarily need 1. I say 0.5. This is a little better, but I could also come in here and do line height. Line height on, that headline is probably a bit much. 1.1 would be fine. And now, that's probably even a little tight, but considering where it started at, it's just it's quite a bit Squarespace. And you do this on all of your templates. I understand they're trying to keep it loose, but whatever. Anyway, so obviously there's a lot of work that we have to do on the CSS side of this to get this where it needs to be, but Luigi has added quite a bit here. I do think that the cropping of the prototype, because down below, I'll fast forward, down below, Luigi does link to the prototype, and the prototype, you can open the prototype here and it'll scoot you over to Figma, and it's fine. There's nothing wrong with it, but it loads this. It loads the actual prototype. It's a link to the actual display of the prototype. So if we come back in here, and that's interesting, Luigi. It opened it in. It replaced the window, which is not great. So I would say make this open in an empty target. So target empty, or target blank rather, so that it keeps this tab open. I hate it when I'm looking at portfolios and I click a button and it takes me away from it, and then I'm like, where'd the portfolio go? So something like this, have it open in an empty window. But as you can see, you can't really see a lot of detail here, which is why Luigi has given us a image here at the top that basically gives you a closer look at what it is that he has. And you can see, like, oh, this is a very intricate prototype. That's the whole point. The whole point is it's an intricate prototype. It is a high fidelity prototype. You can tell that by the colors and the photos and whatnot. But there's a lot going on here. So the goal here is, if you're wondering early on as somebody going through this, hey, is Luigi just doing research, or is Luigi doing prototyping? Like, what's going on? You get that visual sense of what's happening very early on. As we go through, he's got his intro set up. He starts off with observational research. This, of course, was a project that was done just before COVID, so you can see people not wearing masks and not really spacing out in a grocery store, which seems so foreign now. Surveys, user interviews, key themes from the interviews, competitor testing, points out who the competitors were that he was studying, affinity diagram. And I know you're still working on this text because, like, I see the T is still lowercase there. But testing phases of the project I organized. Testing phases of the project I organized to find. I guess the start of this is just kind of off. The 5 main priorities that emerged were customer service, food preference, lifestyle, cost conscious, ease of use. Each of these categories. Okay, so I get that, and I'm guessing what you were saying is you like this visual isn't really giving you a lot. What I might suggest doing, Luigi, is making it to where I would just like this center one, schedule and lifestyle. If you just took these four and put them to the side, that would make it one more row wider. And then I think if you took these three and put it to the side of cost conscious, the longest thing you would have then would be four. And you could crop all of this off, but while allowing this all to go a little larger, and it would play a bit more like your prototype image that's up top. And I think this would be a bit easier to read overall. So I would just go through. I mean, you're not changing the content; you're just kind of reorganizing it. I don't think there's anything wrong with reorganizing the content, and trying to hear what's going on. 1 second. Yeah. So anyway, if sorry about that. If you could just edit this visual, I think it's gonna work a lot better in your portfolio. As we come down to user personas, I was just having this conversation with Ruby the other day, and somebody else. This conversation was Abby. I was having it with Abby as well. When we look at the case studies, 1 second. All right, I'm just gonna have to push through. Sorry about that, everybody. When we I'm sorry. I'll edit this piece out a little later. All right, gonna have to come back to this. Sorry, got thrown off. There's a lot of noise in the room. All right, let's try again. So when we're looking at this with Emma and Taryn, I think it's fine to have these images. If we inspect this a little smaller, the one thing I'll point out is like I'm not going to be able to read these details. So my question is, do we show them at on a small screen? Would it be fine, or would it just work out just as well just to show like two faces? To say, I had Emma Jackson and I had Taryn Austin. Like, do we need these? Don't we? I could take or leave it. It's fine. I think that they're fine. But I did want to point out, like, you can't read these at small sizes, so there's always going to be that issue. Also, it looks like some of your details get dropped off of this one. Just noticing that as well. So it might have been an export issue. All right, story mapping. This again is that crazy. If we look at this and we go, what's up with the crazy spacing, Squarespace? It's weird. It acts like that's its own section, which is unfortunate. And I think that's why it's doing this. Is it's not grouping these together as sections. Maybe that's the problem. Yeah, I think that might be the dilemma here, and that's why you're getting the space on this section and then space on that section. That's why it's coming out as such a wide gap. But anyway, so that you might actually be able to eliminate some of this in the actual structuring of the way that you're building the page. So we should take a look at that, because otherwise you're going to have to go soak up a lot of space out of each section, and I don't think that's a really great situation either. But story mapping, you get an idea of the vast array of tasks that you had to tackle, and Here, the question I have is, again, is this one of those situations where we crop it a bit so that it shows up a little better? You don't have to, obviously, but it may help this display a little more legibly. Like if you clipped off everything out here after tip and just had that go, and then you basically started it with product name and then went across. But it's not a huge thing. The big thing for me is like they get a sense that that you are organizing what's going to be built and when it's going to be built. Also might be helpful if like you came and highlighted this section to give it the ability to say, build 1, build 2, build 3, so that they have an idea that there's some priority here. Because you do identify categories essential for the creation of, and that is product home, onboarding, ordering, and customer service. That's great, but what I don't get from this is I don't really see how the priority was made, because it seems like you're putting emphasis that the priority is these epics, when actually the priority was determined. This is the first build, and these are all secondary. So I guess there's 2 tiers of priority going on. Something worth noting. Initial wireframes, they are what they are. Nothing really to add there. They shouldn't be fancy. I do like the fact that your initial prototype is here, though, because I think it shows that not only were you wireframing, but you were also testing how these came together. So I think showing this visual is really helpful, and then obviously the final prototype. So this has really come along quite a bit. I do think that this is a great opportunity to come through and edit some of these images now that you've got it in there, and there may be spots where you want to add a bit more to kind of like story mapping, for instance, and this affinity diagram paragraph. I think those are a couple of spots where I might do a bit more tuning on the content itself, and that's where I would take it. Sorry about that earlier. All right, so let's go ahead and hop over to Heather, and Heather is over here in yes, Heather's over in user flows, and love user flows. Flowmap's one of my favorite tools for doing user flows, mainly because it's just got a nice snap to it, which makes it easy to handle the alignment of these items. So often it's I guess I'm sorry, I'm viewing this and I realize I'm not signed in, but we can still make it a long way here. So Heather is working through her school's app, and so she's basically trying to create a way for instructors to create events in a platform that students can determine when they want to meet together in person outside in a non-physical classroom, because we all know that it's the interior spaces that are the real issue. So you have to determine how to arrange and organize yourself in non-traditional learning environments like a park. So that's really cool. Works really well in large cities, maybe not so much in the countryside because there's not parks. But this I think is a really good idea. So let's just kind of walk through some of the tasks that she's trying to build here. I want to be able to sign up so I can reserve my spot. That's fine task. Opens application on phone or website on computer. I think that here you're getting a bit wordy with it. I think it just opens application and doesn't necessarily need because it's the same task. It's like I'm opening the app. Great. Logs in with district email. Great. Now you're on the home page at the home page, it says clicks on upcoming session drop down. Now this is where I think the interface, an understanding of how interface is considered comes into play, because here you're saying I'm going to select whether I want to see sessions on a map, sessions on a calendar, or sessions in a list. And the bottom line is that you're talking about toggling between views. You're not necessarily going to see different information, okay? You're going to see the same list of things presented 3 different ways. So that isn't necessarily a drop down. That is, I just want to see selects available sessions, okay? And then I could view as map, view as calendar, view as list. And I want to show you. I looked at this a little earlier because I was trying to because I know this is your first time doing user flows. So if we come over here to Mobbin, and mobbin.design is one of the places I like to go when I'm looking at patterns. And actually, I'm going to escape out of that so I can just zoom. Okay, so this is, I forget what app this is, to be completely honest with you. We'll take a look at it here in a second. This is a application where they have a toggle that allows you to switch from calendar view to list view. And what are we changing? It looks like this must be some sort of payment app. So these are recurring payments, and this is when they happen. And I can toggle, I can just see the list of maybe payments happening that month, or I can select the 29th, which is the 29th is selected, and I can see that maybe I'm trying to guess here what's going on because I have not used this app, but it looks like maybe today is the 29th, but there are payments scheduled on the 30th and the 31st. So basically the list view is already here, okay? But if I wanted to get rid of the calendar and just see the list of payments for the month, I could do that as well. What map is this? Truebill. This is Truebill if you want to go check that out. So that is one way that we toggle. There's another way, and this is what's funny is you've identified information that is generally a toggleable thing. You can take a list view and show it on a calendar. You can also take a list view and show it on a map. And the way that we've seen that in the past is like this. So this is the Sephora app, and I could have just as easily pulled up Yelp. But here we have Sephora's, and this is San Francisco, because that's where, and you're probably somewhere over here in Berkeley. But we have a map view. If we toggle over, there's a list view. And the list view would deliver exactly what you would expect it to deliver. It would deliver a list of locations versus the map view, which shows you the general area. And if you tap on the map view, it's going to show you a pop-up of information related to that salon, or not salon, but that location. So the information, anything that can be displayed in a list, if it has a date and it has a location, it could be displayed as a list, map, or calendar view, something related to date. So you've identified that, and that's good. But the decision of how you view it doesn't need to be made until you're actually on the session, okay? And that's not a, so it's not like you're looking at different information is my point. So I don't necessarily need to, I just need to view upcoming sessions, select a session, and then on select a session, this should be confirm ? If yes, I go to the confirmation screen. If no, I go back to the beginning. All right? So there's a lot of line work here that isn't necessarily needed at this stage. Okay? I don't need to say, I'm going to view it as a map, I'm going to view it as a calendar, I'm going to view it as a list in the user flow. I just need to say, I'm going from the home page, I'm clicking show me the upcoming sessions, I'm going to select the session, then I'm going to confirm yes, okay, give me the confirmation screen, confirm no, ? go back to home page. And that's the loop for, now the next question I have is, is there any optional details that I need to add there? Like that is those are things that the user has to do. I don't necessarily, map, calendar, list, that can be in the wireframes. Okay? So that's a level of detail that isn't necessary for this user story for this user flow to be accurate. Let's take a look at another one. So I want the ability to sign up. I want the ability to see who else has signed up to try to play with friends. So you're trying, I'm guessing this is like, as a kid I'm doing this, or as a parent I'm trying to like arrange this so that my kid's there when their friends are there. Okay? So I'm going to open the application. I'm going to log in. I'm at the home page. Click on upcoming session. Now we're getting back into the same thing with map, calendar, and list. Now this is an interaction. It says while hovering over date, which is hover is not a thing on a phone. So like number of slots still available and a list of students already signed up. So this is more of a view. All right. So I select a session. All right. So I click through on a session. It shows me I'm viewing the details of the session. Whatever details those are, that's fine. I'm simply going from a list view of the sessions to a detail view of the session, and that's just all the information about the session. Click confirm. I think this is really sign up for session. Yes or no. That puts you back at the, I don't necessarily know if I go back to the home page here. I may go back to the list of sessions, because this is like I'm moving in a level of detail. All right, so I'm going from the list to the individual item. If I want to sign up for the individual item, I sign up for it and move forward. But if I don't sign up for the individual item, I move back to the list. I don't go all the way back to the home page, because there's no reason to go back all the way to the home page. Right? I should go back to the list. And I'm guessing that the list, if we're thinking about the home page, this is where, if I'm on the home page, do I see, what do I see when I'm there? Is it just upcoming sessions? Or are there so many upcoming sessions I should participate, I should say group play, band, science. Like are the sessions partitioned at a higher level, so that when I go to click, I only want to see the band sessions, and so I click band, and I go into the list of sessions that are related to the band, and then I click one of those sessions and I go into the detail. And at the detail view, I can see things like number of slots available, who else is signed up, all the details related to that session. So we have a leveling issue here. We're focused on right now, very very early on. You're focused on map, calendar, list. I'm telling you, don't worry about that. Worry about how do I drill down to get to those kids. And again, like if I select the available session, I do something. It could be hover, it could be tap, it could be whatever, but I do something to enter into another view that shows me all those details. All right? If at some later time you want to say, oh, that's just a hover, that's great, but that shouldn't be at this, like these two things are separate. Like you're cramming it all in the same box right now, and like I select the session. Now I'm viewing the details of the session. I sign up for the session, or I exit. Like I go forward or I go back, and that is somewhere over here. Let's do one more of these. Want to know how long the session is so I can make other plans. That's more of a so question here. I want to know how long the session is. Is that a detail that exists? So I see. I don't really see any difference between this one and this one. So I'm going to click on the upcoming session. We've already talked about we don't need the drop down because the views exist at the session level, or at the list. The views, the different views exist at the list level, not at the selection of map calendar list, because that's not a thing. But so I'm seeing the list of possible sessions, and my question here is the duration listed on the list? Like, does it say how long they are? Is there a time element there, or is what's showing up on the list just like when it is, like the date? Is the duration showing up on the list, or do I have to go into the individual item and see all the details to see the duration? That it seems like it would exist at the list view, but and it says displaying duration of session now, but it doesn't say that here. But this is a detail, okay? So again, this is, I think this gets simplified because I don't want to worry about how I'm viewing it. I don't want to worry about map, calendar, lists. Like, so that it becomes a straight line because I'm not making that decision. My decision is, am I signing up or am I not? And if I'm not signing up, where am I going to go after that? I shouldn't go back to the home view. I should go back to the list view. I should go back to view. Like, when I go into the detail view of one of these items, I can either go forward and confirm, or I can go back one level to the list, not to the home page. Okay, so that's another, like there's a middle ground here. Again, we lose the triplicate here. We simply say, okay, I need to view a list, and I'm viewing the list. I need to view individual details. I'm viewing the individual details. If I confirm, I move forward. If I don't confirm, I go back to the list. Okay, we're simplifying. This is, I believe right now you're a little more complicated than it needs to be. Okay, I want to know who is leading the session so I can choose the teacher I'm practicing with. Okay, I want the weather forecast. So again, everything that's being described here is everything that's being described here is something that exists basically on the detail view. What's the weather like on that day? Who's the instructor? Like, that's all list detail. The one thing that I think is a little different is teacher. I want to know who's leading the session so I can choose the teacher I'm practicing with. That might be a view where you say search, and I search for maybe the band. Let's say the band teacher's name is Heather. Okay, I search for Heather, and it pulls up a list of people in the system. Maybe that's a search view. All right, and I select that instructor, and maybe only instructor. Is it only instructors, or can I pull up other students or other parents? I don't know. But let's just say for this purpose, I can only search instructors. So I hit search. I search for the teacher name. I click the teacher. I see their details, and I see sessions they are teaching. That's a different way to display the list. Now it's partitioned by just the teacher. All right, and I can select it, and then I can view the details of that session. And if I say no, if I move forward, I can confirm. If I don't, I can go back to the teacher, or is the question there or is there a way to exit out altogether? That I don't know. So this is a situation where you're following the same pattern over and over and over again, but there's a view here, like it goes homepage, list, detail, confirm, cancel. Okay, but here teacher is something that either exists on the detail view, or the question is that a search function? And search isn't something that we've seen thus far. Okay, so I want to emphasize that I think you've made it probably a bit more UI detailed, and we're focused on task at this point. But there is a missing level that you keep putting detail view into this maze of, oh, I've selected a list and I'm displaying a list, and then on hover it's like that's a different thing. Like this is two things. Like I got a list and then I got a detail. All right? And this is something that is very important to keep in mind. When the way information moves typically is from more general to more specific. All right? The general here is all the sessions. The more specific is the details about a specific session. The general is all the teachers. The more specific is a teacher. And the more specific than that is a session that the teacher is leading. Okay? So and basically you should be able to step one level up in detail and one level back in detail at a time. All right? And that's where the whole concept, if you're on the online, you go back, you use the back arrow, or if you're on your phone, you use the back arrow or button. That's how we move in and out of information. We go from more general to more specific. And here you're getting too caught up in partitioning the view, and then you're cobbling list and detail together. All right? Don't worry about the view yet. Worry about the progression of detail, and think about, am I moving closer and more specific, or am I moving more general? I'm moving more specific, I'm moving steps forward. I'm moving more general, I'm moving steps back. And then when I do get to the point where I hit, no, I'm not going to sign up for that, where does it dump me off at? Do I have to go all the way back to the home page, or is there a more general area that I should be residing in? Okay? All right. So let's move forward. And again, mobbin.design, it's great. I'm just going to show you that real fast. So mobbin.design, there's all these artifacts, and I've come in here and I'm saying patterns. I'm searching by particular patterns, and I've toggled calendars. I could have just as easily toggled. I'm pretty sure I've got a list view in here. Media, purchase layout. Post is probably just the same as list. But it is interesting. Normally, I would guess that I would have a list like right here, but I'm not seeing lists. But really, everything that you could possibly think about is a list at some point in time. So yeah, product details. Sorry. Yeah, product details. Many times this is just a list in and of itself. If we turn that off, come back over to content. Well, that's the same. That's really the same thing. Content details. That's a list of things. Articles and news. That's just a list. You get the idea. All right, check out mobbin.design though. It's pretty good. It's the best of the sites that I've encountered as far as looking at mobile patterns. All right, Bryn is back, and she's got her personas. Looks like her secondary roles that might influence the personas are roommate, partner, and children. She's working on the fresh market application. Oddly enough, the other, and she's really taken some interesting spots. I got to be completely honest with you. Um, but she has found that there's a lot of people out there that are looking for more customization or the ability to change their mind. And I think that this is really interesting. I think some of this is related to the general age of the person that's involved. Like I'm seeing 20s and 30s here. I do think that this would skew a little differently if you got somebody in their 40s, 50s, or in their teens, like a college student. But I think this is just kind of it's a really interesting look at it. But let's take most of what I'm focused on here are these goals, frustrations, and scenarios. Variety of food options to suit her changing appetite. So she wants options. She wants flexibility. She wants her regular. Wants her favorites delivered regularly. So subscriptions aren't varied enough in their menu items. Hasn't always been in the mood to eat meals she prepared. Despite the joy of cooking, she doesn't want to spend too much time or effort. Um, she wants to place a last-minute food order with a fast delivery time frame. Receiving meal ideas on cuisines of interest. That's interesting because that says to me like, okay, this is somebody who's wanting me to push ideas to them, like without them thinking about it. Sounds very much like an almost newsletter sort of setup. Although I balk at that a bit, but reviewing quick recipe suggestions and deli add-ons based on shopping cart. Okay, so she's going through and selecting things in a cart, and she's getting suggestions. So that's interesting. It's like, is she going through a recipe